Welcome back to the Braking Zone. Our last episode was, I think, the best performing episode we had in the history of the channel. So obviously,
Pretty excited.
yeah, we're saying the right things. We're getting people engaged in what we're talking about.
Yeah, you guys are enjoying the
You're
conversation.
enjoying it, and again,
Happy here.
we make this for you. So
Yeah.
glad you're enjoying it. So we're still on summer break with MotoGP.
I have a couple of interesting things I think to talk about with MotoGP. Based on the comments that we have from the last video, you guys are also interested in talking about MotoGP. So let's lean into that a little bit. I want to hear your top 3 riders from the first half of the season.
Top 3
Performing riders.
bad.
Top 3 good performing riders, not named Marc Marquez.
Not named Marquez, not named Marc Marquez. So you cannot
Name Marc Marquez, because I think that's a gimme, because then we would just be doing a top 2.
And are we looking at just performance alone, or are we looking at like big picture, their overall riding potential? And
I think who have you been the most impressed by this year? Right? So, because otherwise we just go look at the standings,
Right.
And that's not fun. I think that's boring. But which rider have you been like, they've done more than I expected this year, or they're outperforming the bike that they're on, or something to that effect?
number 1 is easy for me.
Okay.
The rider that is completely exceeding my expectations, far more, doing way better than I thought they would do, is Bezzecchi.
Yeah.
I am really surprised. I didn't think, I've never thought he was an alien. I think he's an incredibly talented rider, but with Martin's absence, his ability to step up, kind of take Aprilia forward, it has really impressed me, and his performance has been really solid. So yeah, I'm really impressed with Bezzecchi.
Bez is an interesting character, because when the journalists talk about interviews with him, he is not interested in talking to them.
Yeah, he does not like that. You sometimes get funny quotes from him, because if a journalist asks a question that he thinks is stupid, he has no qualms letting you know that he thinks that.
Yeah, he would tell you to piss off if he didn't think he'd get fined for it.
Right. And I know for a fact there are some journalists who avoid him because they don't want to look stupid, because he's harsh.
But I'm with you. I've been really impressed by him. I think when he got to the Aprilia, it was because last year he didn't perform as well as we expected. The year before he was great though.
Right. But that was both like which version of the exotic lose. Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't have high hopes for him on the Aprilia, but I agree with you. I think he's definitely outperformed what we expected. For a guy who I sort of thought was within that little VR46 cohort, that little group of theirs, he was the one that seemed to shrink in my mind.
Yeah.
He didn't have the big personality. He wasn't the gregarious, outgoing guy. But yeah, he's been great on the Aprilia, I think.
Right, because he seems to get more positive press than Bezzecchi, right?
Yep.
Number 49, your number's namesake.
Yep.
And yet his performance this year has been kind of on par, right? Like, he hasn't really disappointed and he hasn't really impressed. He's been solid and consistent. So he wouldn't make it into my 3, even though I'm a fan of him. I think I really, really like him. And he's coming back from some pretty serious injuries. And so he's been pretty consistent.
Yeah, I like Digia too. But yeah, same thing. I expected more. Putting him on the 25. And maybe he's probably your best. I'll take Pecco out for a second, because I think Digia is your best barometer for how good is that 25.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I think Pecco's a little more cerebral, a little in his own head more than necessary. But I think, hey, Digia can't seem to just be up at the front all the time. I think that bike's not as good.
Yeah, and so that would bring me to probably my second rider, and this is going to surprise a lot of people, but I think the second rider that actually has impressed me has been Pecco. Because you have to... So first off, I think Pecco has always impressed me by... he's a nice guy. He's a gentlemanly rider. He's kind and considerate. He's atypical for a MotoGP racer. And again, I don't think he's an alien, but I think he's incredibly intelligent. And I think he's very clever. And I can't even fathom the tension or the pressure that he led the team to 2 world championships. And now he is very clearly and obviously second fiddle.
Yeah.
And honestly, rightly so.
Yeah.
But like that would mess with my head.
Yeah.
And for him to like,
Yep.
I'm kind of impressed with Pecco's performance. I really am.
Interesting. So I think the thing about Pecco that is most disappointing to me is I just want more fight.
Yeah.
I want more fight out of you. Like you were you didn't win it last year, but you won 2 years prior. Like this is your team. And yes, it's Marc Marquez, but don't let him just steamroll you and be Marc Marquez.
There's been a couple of those situations where he kind of holds his position and causes a crash. And they were very controversial. But those were the moments where I agree with what you're saying, that's when he, like, no.
There was the great one. It was last season. I want to say Aragon, but it wasn't Aragon. It was somewhere else. And Pecco and Marquez crashed together when Marquez was on the Grassini. And it was truly that. It was like Pecco was just holding his line and he put himself in a spot where either you back out or we both go down. And sure enough, you did that to a Marquez. You're both going down.
Yeah.
But he almost had to do it. He almost had to sacrifice the race and have the crash in order to not be bullied by a Marquez. And then he had another one later on with Alex. That one was a bit different. I think that was really just Pecco being a bit foolish. But I think when it was Marc, it was like my feet are dug in. Like if you want this spot, we're gonna both go down.
Because I think to your point, I think Pecco's biggest weakness is his kindness, that he will sometimes yield where Marquez absolutely don't. Now, if Pecco existed in a universe where Marquez didn't recover from his injuries and he's on the best bike, I think it would be a completely different scenario than what we're seeing now. But yeah, and it's, even with, Martin last year, there were a lot of, we'll call them mistakes that I think were rooted in his being considerate. And it's a fine line because it's what I love about him, that he won't punch someone off the track.
Right.
But at the same time, I think he's got more chops than what we're seeing this year. And the fact that he's like doing as well as he is. I mean, he's still third in the points right now, isn't he? Yeah. So that counts for something. All right. So I give him my top 2 of 3. What's one of yours?
So I want to start at the top.
Okay.
Let's start at the top. So I think Johan Zarco is outperforming and outriding everybody on that Honda.
He has for 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm a Zarco fan. They call him, what do they call? They call him the monk warrior.
Warrior monk.
Calls him a warrior monk because he's so stoic and quiet and thoughtful. And since we're talking about Zarco, he won Suzuka.
Yeah, he's the Honda team won Suzuka, and I think Zarco set the qualifying lap that put him, the fastest qualifying lap ever at Suzuka. The team won it. He did a ton of laps. I mean, what else can you say about the guy? He's in that Suzuka instance. I mean, for those who aren't aware, if you're a Japanese motorcycle manufacturer, it is MotoGP championship. Suzuka is right below.
It's unfortunate that I don't know of a place to watch this. Is
in America, it's really hard to find.
It's because I remember I got a bootleg copy of it like on DVD eons ago, and it was like the highlights.
Yep.
But it had me glued to the screen. Yeah. I wish we saw more Suzuka because it's something I followed my entire life as a motorcyclist was what's going on with Suzuka. So for Zarco to win Suzuka is a very big deal. And I don't think many people are going to be talking about how significant that is.
Definitely not Americans. But yeah, for sure, that's a huge deal. But he's been so consistent. I mean, this year he's outperformed everybody in the Honda. He's by far their number 1 rider, not even close.
Outperforming the factory bikes by not even margin. Yeah.
And he's making the bike look right ahead of. Like, is that actually a genuinely decent bike? Or is it only kind of decent when Zarco's on it? Because you watch Mir's a world champion, phenomenally talented. Like, they've got a good team, but no one's close to Zarco on that thing. So for me, I think it's Zarco right now.
I don't want to get sidetracked, but I want to know what your thoughts are on Rossi's little brother on the Honda.
Luca
Marini.
I think this is showing kind of who Luca Marini can be. I think he's a deeply analytical rider. I would put him almost in the camp of like a Dovizioso. He's deeply analytical. When everything is working, he can perform, but it's much more mechanical. It's less like driven by just like sheer passion and talent and like raw just feel.
Do you think that makes someone a better test rider than racer?
And that was one of the things that they've talked about too with like Quartararo is he is a phenomenally talented rider. He can get the most out of whatever you put him on, and probably a bit too much sometimes. But and you've heard this over the years, when he would come to the teams, it was like, oh, I need more horsepower. I need more horsepower. And then you hear other riders are like, it has no grip. Like I can't put the power I've got down. I've got no grip. And it was like, well, is he so much better that he really just needs more horsepower and he'll figure out the grip problem? But as you watched, I think his feedback is very raw and emotional, and it's not as thought out as some of these other guys for Fabio. And Fabio's younger. He also, if you look at kind of his history of teams that he went to, he was never on a team that demanded his input to figure the bike out. Like, he was on very underperforming teams, frankly, in Moto3 and Moto2. They were not great teams. But they were on one of the tech-free. Yamaha, again, not a factory rider. No one's asking him to figure out the bike. And he was able to just ride the thing as he got it and outperform everybody. And I just don't think, and that doesn't mean he can't figure out how to give good feedback. In fact, it was an interesting little anecdote they had on the Oxley Bomb podcast recently, where they talked about he went to a Formula One race in Monaco because him and Lewis Hamilton apparently are friends, and got to hear how he gave feedback and how the team operated between practice sessions to gather driver feedback in that case. And he was sort of like, oh, I'm not doing this at all the way you guys are doing it. So anyway, that might be an interesting thing for him. But yeah, long story, but I think he's raw talent, as raw as it gets. I don't think he's as good at the feedback part. But Marini is much better.
Maybe the polar opposite of that, maybe.
To the point where it's like, maybe you are better in the testing role so much rather than maybe just like the actual racer. So,
all right. So your number one is?
So Zarco's my number one. I think he's outperforming the bike by miles. He's nowhere near the top,
Rango, but he won races on a Honda.
I think he's really impressive. And then I think number two, Fabio Quartararo.
Okay.
I think he's just phenomenally talented. He's riding the wheels off that Yamaha. Every single lap, he's riding wheels off that thing. I think a rider like at that talent level, it would be so easy to just be like, call me when the bike's ready, and just slow down and stop crashing and take it easy on his body. But he hasn't done that. You look at how hard he pushes in qualifying, and I think that's when you see him at his absolute best, because it's fresh tires, there's no one in his way. It's just him going flat out, and he can perform. He can put it on pole.
Do you think Quartararo is an alien?
That's hard to say, because when you look back 10 years, you've got Stoner, Pedrosa, Lorenzo, Rossi, Marquez. Those are your aliens. I would say he's right in there with that mix in the right era. But God, I want to see him. I want the Yamaha to work so much better than it does.
Because Quartararo is my number three. And he is, I think, to the original question, who's being held back by the equipment?
Yeah.
I think more than Zarco on the Honda is Quartararo on the Yamaha.
Yep.
And and I mentioned this the last podcast, I am so excited for Yamaha's V4 to maybe start leveling that playing field. Because what I love about Quartararo is, I think if he's not an alien, he's an alien adjacent. He's at the top of the special riders. But he's on a bike that's the only inline four that's left there. But his work ethic is remarkable. Like he's out there putting in the laps, taking the risks when, nobody else really is like Quartararo.
Yeah, I would say nobody else is really close to him in terms of like what he's doing now. Granted, the man's getting paid for his show.
Well, I think he's one of the highest paid.
Probably the highest paid one out there right now, I think, from Yamaha. But I mean, Yamaha can't afford to lose him. They have to have him. So I think that's kind of where it is.
Well, and the interesting thing about Quartararo as well is that he was offered an Aprilia spot.
Yeah.
And Yamaha, we can't afford to lose you.
It's them to stay.
And as an Aprilia fan, I would have loved to send him on an Aprilia.
Yeah. I think him not taking it's probably what left the door open for Martini. Because Aprilia's small. They don't have the budget to hire every top rider.
Right.
You know, they can't afford them all. Yeah, I'd love to see the V4 will be interesting.
I don't know how well it's going to do.
And so far, like they did the one testing and the riders talked about, yeah, it's like 2 seconds off.
Oh, really? I haven't read anything about it.
He's pretty open about it, but he's at the other end of my scale. He's not the one who I'm like, oh, you're really killing it. He's like, why are you in the factory team right now, dude? He's got I mean, I know he's dealing with like those long-term injuries. I don't think he's ever going to be the rider he used to be based on his injuries. The Yamaha's got to make a decision soon. Like he's taking up a valuable spot and they need to put somebody in. So your number 3 was Zarco?
Number 3 was Zarco. Who's your number 3?
This is the tough one. Because the other ones, in my mind, the other ones were easier. I actually think I'm still excited to see what Pedro Acosta can do. He had a little emotional breakdown part of the way through the first half of the season. But I think he's in that rung. I mean, if you look at the riders who could do something special, he's one of them. And if you take Marc Marquez out of the equation for a second, if you look down at the next rung, like, okay, who could be giving him a fight if they just had the right equipment?
Yeah, he's definitely on I would agree. What I think is interesting, neither you or I chose Alex Marquez.
Yeah. And it's just funny.
Why is that? Why are neither of us, I mean, because he's number 2 in the points and we're not like, and he's been consistent and he's professional. He's like all the things I really like in a racer. And yet at the same time,
this is probably the problem with Alex Marquez in general. This is probably his problem as a rider and for his whole career is he's never quite Mark and he performs well enough, but he kind of just gets mixed up in the shuffle a little bit. And he's slow to adapt to a new class. He won Moto3, but he was slow to adapt to it. He won Moto2 eventually, but he was the stalwart of Moto2. He was there for seasons in that kind of top 5-ish realm. And then suddenly it was like all of the guys that were faster than him had graduated out of Moto2. And then eventually he was the fastest. It was just like so anyway, he went on to win that year, but he takes a long time to adapt to a new series. And we've seen the same thing in GP. He's taken a long time to adapt to the series and get on the very best bike that's available. So I think all those things have played into his favor this season. Why didn't I pick him? Yeah, maybe he's not exciting enough. I don't know. He's performed well. He's kind of loved it a little bit the last couple rounds, which maybe that hurts his.
Yeah, but even before then, it was like really. There's all the jokes, the memes on Instagram. Yeah. You know, I know who's going to come in first, Marquez. I know who's going to come in second, Marquez.
Yeah,
all right.
I don't know. I should be a better Alex fan, I guess.
All right, let me ask you this now: Who is your, for lack of a better word, your villain on the paddock? And we love all of them, right? I don't want to see anybody, but who's the one rider that just kind of doesn't fit well with you? That just kind of.
So I think I like them all. I think there's probably riders who I would be okay seeing leaving because it would free up a spot for somebody.
Are we thinking of the same person?
I'm thinking of a couple. I've read a couple guys that would be like, if this was their last season, I would feel bad for them, but I would not feel bad for what we get to see. I think Rins
is so injured. The guy can barely walk.
But okay, so like, off you go.
Room.
Like that's just this is not.
Yeah. But I like Rins as a rider. I like him as a talent.
Really interesting.
Yeah, that would be a rider
I'll be bummed when he finally has to step out. But like, could Rins go to World Superbike and still?
Oh, he'd probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think he'd be right up there with him if he got him on the right bike. So if Rins stepped out, I wouldn't be totally hurt. I love him to death because he's this, like, whenever you see him in an interview, he can't stop smiling. Is Samket Chantra.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But he is clearly kind of out of his depth.
Yeah.
He's actually probably not talented enough to be in MotoGP, frankly. But he's very lovable. He very much helps draw in the right audience, right, based on where he's from. So that helps, Honda and MotoGP, but he's just not talented enough. You'd never see him on the race because he's too far back, right? So I think that's unfortunate. But again, he's on that Honda, which, I mean, Zarco's making it work, but no one else is. So is he taking up a valuable spot or just a spot? So I could see if he exited, that would make sense to me. I think he's just happy to be here. And I would be too. I'd be pumped.
Yeah.
Not everyone's Marc Marquez, but we need to make room for the talent that can actually rise up. What do you got?
Frankie Morbidelli.
That's another good one.
Yeah, so Frankie Morbidelli,
Yep.
I don't understand why he's still there, other than he's Rossi's buddy, VR46 guy. He's on the VR46 bike. But he continually, and I don't understand this about him, and he gets in trouble for it all the time, where he just parks it during qualifying and is going slow on a hot racetrack. And you and I, who spend a lot of time on a racetrack, if somebody was doing that at a track day, we would have words with them about that. And he does it all the time. And it's such a risky thing to do because two people could get hurt. Yep. I think his performance, it's consistently mediocre.
Yep.
Yeah, he's the guy. I just don't understand why he's there. And I think there's more talent. Like, imagine if Acosta got that seat.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a perfect example of like, even some of the Moto2 guys. If Frankie was gone and you brought up, Diego Moreira, some of these other guys who really have shown a lot of talent, it's like, you put them on that bike and they may not be fighting for wins or fighting for podiums, but would they be up with like Fermi Aldeguer, right? Who's doing quite well this year, actually. Like, I think you just have more guys up there performing or at least having a chance to show it. Frankie's a great call.
Yeah, yeah. And like, no disrespect for any of these, right? Like, one thing I love about this sport is that I'm not rooting against anyone.
Yeah.
Every success I celebrate, no matter who gets it. It's part of the joy of it that, even if I don't like the rider, well, Aprilia got the win or Yamaha got the win.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's a unique thing. It's not picking teams as much, just celebrating anybody who can be successful in a sport that is so unfathomably hard and dangerous and complicated and exclusive. And so they're all heroes. They all are.
So, riders aside, take Ducati out for a second. Which of the manufacturers are you most excited to see what they do in the second half? So maybe they're not going to go take it to Ducati, obviously, but which one are you just excited? Like, you see the path they're on, you're excited to see where it goes.
Hands down Aprilia. And I've said this for a couple of years, and I think I'm not alone in this, that Aprilia is probably the closest to Ducati. And, they lost the first half of the season to Martin's injuries. So I'm delighted that he's going to come back. I think he's potentially an alien. I think he's in the same boat as Quartararo, where if he's not an alien, he's alien adjacent. Mm-hmm. Lots and lots of talent. And you have I think a fantastic package that, as you mentioned earlier, Aprilia is a tiny little company just outside of Venice. And talk about the underdog story. They're the Lamborghini in the Ferrari-Lamborghini battle. And I kind of want to see them take it to Ducati on their own turf.
Yeah.
And potentially. So And then the second one would be Yamaha. I'm excited for Yamaha to come back with the B4. But I've been secretly rooting for Aprilia for like 2 or 3 years because, again, it's such a small company compared to like Honda. Freaking Honda, who makes jet planes, and then you have this like tiny little company out of Nuale, just outside of Venice that started off making scooters. Now here they are, and not even all that long ago.
So I'm with you. I did pick Aprilia just because owning an Aprilia, I'm probably a bit of a fanboy because I just love the brand. I love what they're trying to do with very, very little, right? Comparatively. But they have hit on like their development path. I mean, I think if anyone keeps Ducati up at night, it is Aprilia, right? Because they're the only other manufacturer that's even close in terms of rolling new ideas out, novel ideas, not just copycat ideas. And because if you look at the Aprilia next to the Ducati, they don't look the same.
Right. Whereas the Honda and KTM could be the same motorcycle.
Yeah, if you paint them all black, it's a little tricky to tell which one's which is crazy to think about when you look at these bikes now. But the Aprilia, they're like, nope, we've got our own engineer, we've got our own ideas, we're doing this other thing. And you see some stuff that comes out of there that me as a fan and someone who appreciates just how a motorcycle can look aesthetically, sometimes you see what the Aprilia does, you're like, oh, come on. That looks horrendous.
No, I think objectively the Aprilia is the ugliest motorcycle on the paddock, and they have the worst paint scheme.
It is a terribly boring pace, man. Oh my, terribly boring.
It's with something. Even their street bikes, like they're the most insecure brand. Aprilia is if you've seen the brand new one, it says Aprilia Giant across the top of it. So like it used to be really Aprilia Giant down the side. Now it's like AP. So you're riding the bike and you're just like, I wonder what kind of motorcycle I'm on. We used to ride Look bicycles, or did you have a Look bicycle? Or
I never had a Look.
I had a Look bicycle, and I felt the same way about that. It said Look. If there was a place to put the word Look on the bike, it would be there. And it was almost Easter egg-ish that but it just struck me as wildly insecure. Like,
we get it.
we understand. And Aprilia strikes me that way. Come up with a prettier paint job, because the Gulf livery paint scheme on the Aprilia is probably one of the prettiest liveries on a MotoGP bike in 5-6 years. It is so good looking.
And so you remind me of, because they had that Gulf livery at Qatar. And there's a couple of YouTube highlights of Ayagura, because it's his first season and he's riding like a Moto2 kid. It's big corner speed, it's fast entrances, it's lots of lean. And him on that Gulf, you're like, oh, if that's not the prettiest thing to see in MotoGP right now, is Ayagura on a Gulf under the lights.
With the rotors glowing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
And he just looked beautiful on that.
You have that orange from blue.
From a riding style perspective, Ayagura in those early ones, no, it probably wasn't the fastest, right? He didn't win the race and he's had a bunch of crashes.
He did quite well, as I recall.
He's been surprisingly good. But I think there's a reason why not everybody rides like that.
Well, for sure.
But it was pretty. It was so pretty to watch. So
aesthetics aside, though, yeah. What about you? Like, if you can't pick Aprilia, it's got to be Yamaha. Or they have KTM. KTM has had such a rough year.
Okay, so I went down the list. I think Aprilia is the closest to Ducati. I think they're going to keep chipping away this year, hopefully. They seem to always hit a wall at some point, though. And I'm sure that's going to happen again, which is unfortunate.
It's probably funding.
They're the only brand, they're the only team out there that seems to just struggle to get the basics right all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's oh, there's an electrical issue, and they're just scratching their heads in the garage. It's you don't see that happening elsewhere, really. Anyway, I think they'll get closer. I want KTM to get closer so badly because I want Acosta to have a decent bike and I want to see him go fight. I don't know if they're gonna. They seem to be fundamentally just in the wrong direction right now. And I don't know what's caused that or what would fix that, but I just don't see it totally changing course by the end of the year. I don't think Yamaha is going to make any real inroads before the end of the year.
Yeah, as much as I'm excited about the V4, I can't disagree with you because you're changing ship mid-Atlantic Ocean crossing.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many problems.
And I don't even know with the rules if they can even have the V4 this year, right? Because the engines are frozen. So
the concessions are so confusing. I don't know.
The concessions are a bit confusing. I'm
right?
glad there are some, but I can't.
No, the concessions are frustrating, right? Because it's definitely hurt Ducati.
Yeah.
That they cannot backtrack to the better chassis. And Honda, it seemed like Honda was doing testing.
Yep.
at the Bruno, which helped their performance. Bruno, not Bruno.
RN.
I know, I can't believe
They got corrected by that.
Did we said Bruno last time too? Yeah, okay. BRNO.
So the Yamaha, I don't think this year is going to be exciting. I mean, Fabio's exciting, but that's it. And I love Jack Miller just because I love John.
And yeah, that's another person I would like to keep a space open for.
Oh, yeah.
Because we need Jack Miller.
No, we just need him.
Yeah.
So it leaves Honda, which I'm kind of excited about Honda. Like you see Zarco going and to that point of like they make, jet engines and stuff. Like they have all of the means. Like it seems like Honda, if they just would like point the weapons in the right direction, they could suddenly just march forward very quickly.
From what I understand, what's holding Honda back in that regard is Yamaha, Ducati, KTM, Aprilia. They've all moved their racing to Europe.
Yeah.
And Honda is still, we are Honda, we are doing it in Japan. And so you're just dealing with these delays and these decision trees that are just slowing down their ability to react, to respond, to develop as quickly. And I have no idea, I haven't read anything if that's changing or not. And I think until they do, based on this article's argument, Honda will continue to struggle until they can move their race headquarters to Italy, which apparently is where all the best engineers are. And I don't see Honda ever doing that.
Oh, that would be, well, it would be like the white flag for them. Yeah, I can't fathom them just conceding and being like, all right, we're going to get the Europeans to help us. Yeah, that's just not in the spirit of Honda.
Because Honda, the man Honda himself, I read an article about this week, which is like, the dude, I didn't know this about the guy, right? He started making like lawnmowers or whatever he started making, and he was very successful. And then he disappeared for 3 years into the woods and made whiskey. And then he comes back and starts making cars and and now is one of the biggest car manufacturers on the planet.
It's a fascinating story.
Their dude is really with the woods. So, I know you're making whiskey, making like high quality Japanese whiskey. It's
yours is very Scotch-ish, right?
Yeah, well, it's a single malt. Yeah, it's just a single malt. Basically means it's not a blend from different sources. You only use one source. Yeah, but Japanese whiskey can really run a gamut on what it tastes like. From like, I cannot handle it to like, oh, that's nice kind of a thing. So Japanese has a bigger range of diversity than Scotch whiskey. And Scotch whiskey goes from Islay to the peaty smoky stuff to the Highland Scotch. We are talking about Scotches now. So
tell us if you want a podcast on whiskeys, because Dave's got it for you. That's interesting. Yeah, so which sounds weird because I think on the list you'd be like, oh, well, Honda's at the very bottom of the pile. But for me, they're the one that seems like where they're at today, they have so much potential to swing upward from where they are, which is maybe a backhanded compliment of you're so bad, it's all uphill from here.
I mean, I'm lucky enough to have worked with Honda for a little while now. And every time I'm around those guys, it's always like, but you're Honda.
Yeah.
But you're Honda. And I'd be interested in like talking to you. How many people out there have not owned a Honda motorcycle?
Oh, yeah.
Have you owned one?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I've had several. So there's brands I haven't owned, but
I have never owned a Ducati.
I only
You have.
Yeah, I've had a bunch of Ducatis. I've never owned a Kawasaki. My wife had a Kawasaki, but I never had a Kawasaki.
All right.
But I've had multiple Hondas, only one Yamaha.
I think I've owned everything else that's mainstream.
Yeah, I've had a
KTM.
I haven't had a BMW. I've never owned a BMW.
I have never owned a BMW. Okay, fair point. Speaking of BMW, I want to spend a minute talking about Toprak.
Yes, okay, let's talk.
How like we've lost over him on the last one.
We did. That's kind of a little harsh to him, I think, because he is unbelievably talented.
So he is, without question, the most talented rider in World Superbike.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably make a decent case. Johnny Ray had a hell of a stretch when he was on the Kawasaki some years ago. And then you can go further back and there's Colin, there's Carl, and there's all these other really, really talented guys. He may be the most talented guy to ever ride in World Superbike in his era, right? Like
he may be like top 5 of all World Superbike riders of all time.
For sure, top 5. I don't think anybody could argue talent-wise that he's less than that.
Yeah.
I am so excited to see him in MotoGP because he brings such a different element to it, right? You watch these crazy slow motion clips of him entering corners, standing on the front wheel with the rear tire 6 inches in the air, all the way into the entrance, and then he still nails the apex, and he still just F's off into the distance.
I just wonder, can he do that on a bike that is so hard to ride with such a terrible front tire?
And I think that's where our hesitancy with him comes from is, cool, you did that on a kind of a flexy, forgiving production bike with Pirellis.
Which is known for their amazing front tires.
The Pirellis are very good, and they're just very communicative tires, I would say. Like you know exactly what's coming before it happens.
Yes, and we run Pirellis. You and I both ran Pirellis for years.
I ran Pirellis for a bunch of years.
Almost too communicative because you and I both upped the pressure on the front tire because it was a little much.
Yeah, they give you a lot, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, they tell you a ton. They tell you everything.
And so I think that makes him a very interesting candidate in GP in 2027.
Right, once the tires. So it's actually, maybe it's really good that he's coming early so he kind of gets a little baptism of fire before he's going to really be measured, right? And you always get to break your first year to kind of...
And that's got to be the reason he's coming next year. That has to be the reason. Because when Honda and the other brands were kind of courting him to be their next GP rider, I was like, that's the most brilliant move they can make, is get him as like on contract, have him ride one more season World Superbike, but have him testing your GP bike like crazy up until, because he can do that as a World Superbike rider. He can test a lot. But then the day GP switches to Pirelli, you bring him over as a full-time rider and off he goes and just let him run. I thought for sure that's what they would do. But that's obviously not what they're doing. They're now putting him in there straight away on the Michelins. And he's going to be right away limited on how much testing he gets to do. He now has to figure out a Michelin tire. And I guess
right before the Michelin tire changes.
So I guess my thought was, why take the thing that he has the unique head start in and kind of throw it away before he actually gets to take advantage of it? That was the part that I thought was like, the timing of this is so confusing. Like, is Toprak the right guy that all these brands should be trying to hire? Absolutely. But throwing him on it in 2026 seems foolish to me. He's going to have like rewire his brain to figure out this Michelin tire. And then you're going to throw all that knowledge out anyway. It's like, I don't understand it. And maybe I'll be proven completely wrong.
Well, a lot of these situations, I hope I'm wrong. And right? Like, I want to see him come in and just like shake things up and like make Marquez sweat.
Oh,
right? That would be amazing. Like, think of how great the racing would be.
Oh, yeah. I just
don't see it.
I'm struggling to see it on the Michelins.
Yeah.
And what was interesting when Moto2 switched to Pirelli last season, 24, you had this brilliant little period in the beginning, the first, call it 5-6 races, where the whole field had kind of no clue how to do a full race on the Pirellis. Like, I don't know if you remember, if you want to go back and watch 2024 Moto2 Qatar, there was some guys that were tearing off at the front that I don't think they finished in the top 10. Because the tires wore out and the field didn't know how to deal with it, and everything was just focus light. I know it was upside down. Yeah. But you saw a couple riders come to the front who had some experience on Pirellis and had tested Pirellis and had an idea of, maybe not on the Moto2 at Qatar, but they understood the tire a bit. And I think that's the ace in his pocket right now, and I feel like he's playing it before the hands even dealt. Like, it's like hang tight.
I wonder, I don't have an answer for this, but I wonder if maybe the expectation is, don't go out there and challenge for races. Learn how MotoGP works, because how the paddock in MotoGP works is different. It's way more. World Superbike, they say, is like a family. Everybody knows each other. You get a lot of people who were, they race MotoGP for years. They go to World Superbike to wrap up their career, and they just find it joyful, happy. It's like track days versus club racing, right?
Very much.
And maybe I'm like, his first year is just figure out how this environment works. Learn the politics, learn the players, learn how to navigate, especially now with the switch from Dorna to, Liberty, right? Things are going to be changing.
Yep.
Figure it out first. Next year, we'll pay attention to your performance.
And that's got to be the thought, because that's the only thing that makes any sense. In my mind, I think of a guy like Toprak with the team he's got around him. He's going to make the adjustment to GP one way or another. It just seems like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but the timing seems like, boy, you would have been smarter to just sit tight, do a bunch of testing on the GP bike, help them build the right thing to go race out Pirellis in 27. So
that brings up another question. Of the riders this year, who do you think has the most potential for the second half of the season? Or maybe we could double edge that question. Who do you think is being held back and has the most potential in general for the second half of the season?
All right. So if you could take one other rider and put them on the GP24, who would you put on the GP?
Oh, that's a great way to actually couch that question.
Right?
Right, yeah.
Because
Put it on the best bike out there.
I don't think even
Ducati will tell you last year's bike's better.
it seems to be, right? It sure seems to be. I mean, if the obvious two are Quartararo and Acosta. If I could put them both on a GP24 to just go like, all right, like no more excuses.
Go to adapt quicker.
That's probably a better question. Could Quartararo drop years of inline four habits and Yamaha habits? I think Acosta would adapt quicker.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think Acosta,
Yeah.
as much as I like Quartararo, I think Acosta, if he was on the Ducati,
Yeah.
he would be the one who could potentially be challenging Marquez.
Yeah.
Marc Marquez.
It's an interesting point. Yeah, I think Acosta is probably the right answer. He's definitely had his like little emotional roller coaster.
He's 19.
But he's a kid. Like, yeah. Think back to when you were then. And you had nothing like this kind of pressure on your shoulders. Like you were also a man.
I think he's done remarkably well to like come to MotoGP, be like the golden child. And again, he's been told since he was 6 that he's the greatest thing on 2 wheels, right?
It's going to mess you up.
And yeah, and then he gets to KTM. KTM goes through everything that they're going through.
Yeah.
Poor freaking, and Acosta's like in the middle of it as a teenager,
Yeah.
right? He's not Marquez remember 5 years ago was Marquez. You know, like this is like and I think he's holding up under the pressure remarkably well.
Too.
Yeah.
There was he ran to Bologna, went to like the Ducati tour.
Right, was wandering around the museum. Yeah, I've heard this.
Oh, that's really great. It's like just a total decision across the bow. Who KTO? Yeah, that was funny, a little childish, but funny. But yeah, I think if you could just hand them both a GP24 today and say, all right, like go for it.
I expect Acosta would adapt really quickly.
I think so, and I think also part of that is because I think the KTM to the Ducati is not as crazy of a leap as the Yamaha to Ducati.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing in this scenario with Quartararo and Acosta, the Yamaha is objectively the furthest from Yamaha.
Yeah, exactly.
So Quartararo aside, who else could adapt really quickly to a GP24 Ducati and perform way better?
So if I have to take those two out, part of me wants to see Mir on it because he's trying hard on the Ducati. He was fast on he's world champion. He was fast on the Suzuki. He's never really had a chance to ride a bike like that. Could he adapt and suddenly like find his old self again? And now granted, like he's the one who, of all the recent champions, he's probably got the biggest asterisk around his championship because I believe it was during COVID.
Yeah,
it's a short season. He maybe only won 1 or 2 races that season. And someone in the comments will correct me. Maybe it was 0. I can't remember, but he wasn't like dominant in that season. He just was so consistent. Marquez was out. Like he won because of that.
A win is a win.
But a win's a win. And he's the champion. I'm not going to argue with that. But I'd be curious to see what a guy like him could do on it. Just out of sheer curiosity. Like what could that guy actually still pull together?
Do you know who we haven't mentioned once? I want to know your thoughts on Miguel Oliveira. I read an article about him that was kind of funny. They called him the fish.
The fish.
Because he just looks at you with big eyes. And they say like they don't know what's going on upstairs, that he's an unbelievably talented rider, but they don't know how smart he actually is. And again, I have no idea the validity of this. This is just an article that I read that made me chuckle that they call him the
That's funny. He might be the only rider who I'm less interested in than Alex Marquez. I am nice enough guy. I'm sure.
He's made it there. Like, obviously, he's talented.
He's like constantly injured. And I race, I'm aware that sometimes dumb luck happens, right? I've had dumb luck happen to me. But the guys who are constantly having dumb luck that's not their fault, it's not just sheer coincidence that's happening to you all the time.
Yeah, nobody has dumb luck more than Oliveira.
And sure, some of this is stupid, someone's taking him out, but I genuinely think some of this is, are you riding in a way that's putting you in a spot that nobody thinks?
Yeah, what's the common denominator, right?
Like everyone's like, where in that? Like, how did you get from there to there? Like, so I do wonder if some of these is not just genuine bad luck, but it's like you're putting yourself in a vulnerable spot, unwittingly maybe, but you're doing it a lot, and this is the result of that. You know, is that the same thing that's happening to Mir? Because he might be the most
no, because it seems like Mir gets
foreseen.
Like 1 week it'll be Alex, right, Marquez, right, and the next week it'll be like some weird electrical issue with his bike, or like a tire thing. You know, it's like tire pressure or something or whatever. It seems like his are way more random, and it's to him, he seems like the most luckless, where every time you're like, oh, come on. Give this poor kid a break.
Let him finish a race. Come on.
Gosh. He doesn't deserve it. He's a talented rider.
He's going to throw out on how many suits this year.
Oh my gosh, what is their crash budget?
I can't.
It's probably almost as big as Ducati's champagne budget.
All right. So MotoGP, which is basically Ducati, is on break for a couple more weeks. So we'll come back to them. I want to hear about your trip to Montana.
Yeah, we took the Honda. Honda sent us an NT1100, which is one of the best-selling bikes in Europe. It's effectively the Africa Twin with 17-inch wheels. And so it's kind of like an early era Multistrada, which is what it reminded me most of. And we took it up over Beartooth Pass through Yellowstone National Park. And the interesting thing is, this is the most time I've got to spend on Honda's DCT transmission. I think this is like revision 3 of DCT. So it's not like those early VFR DCTs that were really
not great.
They were really like,
nice.
I don't understand, but like Honda has a vision. Yeah. And I feel like this engine, this version of DCT, their vision was really clear. And the joyful part of it, because Beartooth Pass, if you're not familiar with Beartooth Pass, it's like 12,000 feet. It's a road that shouldn't exist. You're well above the timberline. I've been snowed on up there in July. They'll close the road in August some years for snow. It is an insane road. Switchbacks and marmot.
It's crazy that they paved it.
I don't know why they paved it.
Yeah.
Like,
it's crazy.
There's another way to get to Red Lodge, Montana that doesn't involve this road. But the fact that this road exists, we go out there maybe every year or two, and the road is just, it's magic. It's one of my favorite roads in North America I've ever been on, just because of the short epicness of it. Anyway, we took the bike over it, and I wasn't sure how I feel about DCT up there because, engine braking and having absolute control over your engine is a big part of riding.
Right.
But what I loved about DCT, these tight technical roads and whatever, is, let me back up a second. It comes with 3 modes. There's a full-on manual mode, drive, and it just wants to put you in 6th gear by about 30 miles an hour. So you never use
it's mileage. Yeah.
There's sport mode, and there's 3 versions of sport mode that tell how far it'll rev before it shifts, and it's talking to the IMU to determine when you should shift and all these things like that. It's not bad. But manual mode was great, and especially the downshifting into corners, because you'd be like trail brake into a corner and it shifts like a mountain bike with the little trips. Yeah, well, it's on the other hand. And so you're like downshift, and it auto blips, and you get the engine braking, and it was really, really good. With the exception of sometimes you would end up in 1st gear because it's downshifting so smooth. like in a normal transmission, you know where second gear is, you can tell.
Yeah.
But this thing's working so good, all of a sudden you're in first gear, and it did it perfectly smooth. None of the like lurchy or jerky thing. And it was really interesting. It got me thinking a lot about how engine braking plays into our riding.
Right.
Because I think one of the biggest things I work with riders on is they're trying to learn trail braking and they're overslowing into corners. And almost always it's caused by they're downshifting into too low of a gear. They're relying too much on engine brake.
Yep.
And so a lot of my advice to them is, we'll try to gear higher, maybe try 2 gears higher and see what it feels like, because we want engine braking, but we don't want too much engine braking, right? Because like you race, like what happens when you have no engine braking going into a corner?
Well, and that's kind of the interesting thing about the DCT to me is because they're illegal in MotoGP. So MotoGP had to develop seamless shift gearboxes.
Right, because they're not allowed to use DC.
Yeah, because they can't use DC.
It's like a Formula One rule. Is it too good?
Yeah. And so it's sort of interesting because you have this really technical technology, really complicated technology with DCTs that had to get developed, at least in motorcycles anyway, had to get developed outside of motorsport, which is sort of a unique thing because most of the time it does come from motorsport. But it's interesting the way you describe it with the smoothness of the downshifts, because that engine braking characteristic when you're racing, especially on a racetrack, that actually makes a huge difference. A lot of riders don't talk about the engine braking much, but it does make a huge difference. So historically, if you go back, you look at two-stroke, GP bikes racing, they had very, very, very little engine brake.
Almost none, right?
Almost none. Just the nature of a two-stroke. That sort of steered, when people first got into super bikes and production racing, it steered them toward this extremely low engine braking style of riding. And then, you end up with slipper clutches, all these things to kind of mitigate engine braking. But now you see developments happening now. So for example, on my Aprilia when I race, there's different modes that I can switch to. One of them has much less engine braking than the one I actually use. The less engine braking one feels like I'm freewheeling into corners. And now it's all on me for rear brake, front brake, steering, everything is all on me. And I don't get any help at all from the engine brake. But that's at that kind of high level of racing. But you see a lot of street riders that come out for their first track day, and they're street riders. And so they do their downshift, and then they're usually rolling off the gas early and coasting a long way into the corner. And if you do that, you basically don't need brakes, right? Because there's so much engine braking. So and that's kind of a product of, as I'm entering a corner, especially on the racetrack, as I'm entering a corner, I'm getting my body position over, I'm downshifting, I'm braking, I'm steering. There's a lot happening in a really short space. And so a lot of riders will try to stretch that space out by, well, I can get my downshift done sooner. I can get into the right gear ahead of time and roll in. But then they do exactly what you're saying, where they've ended up overslowing so much that there's no braking needed at that point. So it's interesting that the DCT this idea might kind of free that up a little bit more for people.
Yeah, because we have the same bike. When the first time I took my Aprilia to the track, the first thing I did is I went into the modes and I chose the mode, because you can customize all the modes, and I turned engine braking basically off.
All the way down.
Right? But I grew up on two strokes, and to me, too much engine braking was a hindrance.
Yep.
Taking away some of the engine braking gave me more reliance on the front brake. And DCT did that quite well. The thing trail brakes beautifully. Yep. It is a spectacular trail braking motorcycle. The geometry on this, because it comes from the Africa Twin, is a really, really well sorted rake and trail numbers. And so having less engine braking, I was really in seventh heaven. It just how significant engine braking is, and how everyone goes, is engine braking good or bad? And right, the joke is it depends.
Right.
Everything is nuance and subtlety. You want a certain amount of engine braking, because if you ever got false neutral going into a corner,
it feels the worst feeling.
It's terrible. You're holy crap, I had no idea. Almost to the point of panic, right?
I mean, it's why most race bikes are geared to never need first gear on track. is because you don't want to risk falling into that neutral. So I'll stop at second.
All right, MotoGP, he puts neutral below first. It's neutral 1, 2, 3. Like
They use a release to get it
back into neutral, so you never get a full.
You can't possibly get in neutral. Yeah,
Right, because of that. It was really, as much as I really enjoyed the bike and enjoyed DCT, it was more of a really great thought experiment as to the significance and how to apply engine braking.
Yeah.
Right? Because like my dad, and maybe this is where my thing comes from, he's like, brake pads are cheaper than engines. Right? So he was always like, he was kind of like the engine braking, anti-coasting guy. And he's a Harley man.
Yep.
You know, and that leads to like the other extreme of that, where we see riders do this all the time. They squeeze the clutch and they coast in.
Which is terrifying to watch.
It is terrifying to watch. You're giving up a massive amount of your control by doing that. But you can kind of see where that logic or that thought process gives you there. And it's the nuance of riding, of how engine braking is used. All right.
You remind me of it. I want to tell an anecdotal story.
I love it. I want to hear it.
It's just a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago. So we coach at the track days, obviously. So I'm circulating out in the B or C group. I can't remember which one. And I'm kind of just in the early part of the morning. I'm really just looking for anybody doing anything totally haywire that I'm like, that's going to ruin your day. You're going to wind up on your head. Let's try to, quell that as quick as we can. Unless you're just kind of eyeballing things to see something that's totally out of whack. Anyway, riding around, and there's a kid in the probably B group is my guess. And he's going pretty quick. He's on a little, like a white CBR. And I follow him for a minute just to make sure he's being okay. And then I listen to him, and we're going into a corner, and I can hear his engine just goes whoop to nothing. He goes to the corner, and as he comes out, it goes, and it bucks and it weaves, and he gets out of the corner. And I was like, what's going on with that bike? And I was like, he's not pulling in the clutch. And sure enough, I got closer and I watched, and he, sure enough, goes to the brakes, pulls in the clutch, coasts, quits his downshifts, tips in the corner, and goes for, like, dumps the clutch and gets back on the gas every single corner. And so I pulled him in. I was like, hey, leave it in gear. It's meant to be in gear through the corner. It'll help you a ton. Just leave it in gear. He couldn't do it.
Really?
Nope. He's like, this is how I ride. I was like,
everybody has a style.
Please be safe.
Well, and this is CanyonChaser. Like, obviously, she's never on camera. She refuses to be on camera, but she's objectively, she's a very experienced, qualified, capable competent rider. She goes everywhere I go, watching the drone, right? Like, so but she loved riding the DCT. She loved the idea. She just put it in the most aggressive sport mode when we were riding over some of these passes. And she goes, she loved being freed from worrying about if she was in the right gear, entering and exiting the corners. In sport mode, what it did, which I really liked about it, is that it would do its downshift late, right? Yeah. So you go to the brakes and you're trail braking in, and it would be kind of in a higher gear. And as you got to the slowest part of the corner, because it's relying on the IMU, then it would downshift. So the second you were off the brakes and you got direction and rolled on the throttle, it was already in the exact right gear 11 times out of 10. I don't think I ever faulted it. I tried to fault it, and it was always in the right gear at the second you went to pull out. And, like the people who kind of, poo-poo automatic transmissions and you're taking away from the experience, I can tell you for a fact, that did not take away from the experience.
Right.
It was quite entertaining to be like, I can focus on these things that I believe are more important than manipulating the clutch, and just really you're always there. And it pulls like a manual transmission. It's not like a slush box, right? It's not like,
because it is real inverter. It's a real engaged gear.
Yeah, it's a constant mesh motorcycle transmission. It was pretty cool.
All right, so all of these are gone now, right? Mm-hmm. Hypothetically, they're all gone, all these bikes. And you got to go buy the brand new thing tomorrow. Do you buy something with the DCT? Do you wait or do you get something that has one of the automatic clutches, like the other Honda that you rode? Or do you just stick with the traditional one?
I think right now, I was so gleefully impressed with the E-clutch. To me, the E-clutch was The DCT is different because you don't have to worry about, there is no shift lever. There's kits you can put on.
Lever, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's kits you can put a shift lever back on them, and there's, people are doing kits to move the rear brake up with the hand.
Yep.
So slow speed maneuvers a little bit better. The E-clutch is basically just your motorcycle today, but there's a little motor that'll intervene and squeeze the clutch for you.
Yeah.
That's all it really does.
Yep.
And of the three systems, from a pure manual to E-clutch to DCT, objectively, E-clutch, I think, is inspired.
Yeah.
Because if you're in traffic and you don't want to deal with the clutch, it's not that much of a deal to click the little lever.
Yeah.
Go into the gears, right? It's whatever, it's fine. But I can stop in second gear and it's not going to stall, and then I can click it in first or whatever. If the DCT will always put you in first gear when you stop. Like, it is a little bit more nanny. But the E-clutch was the best quick shifter of any motorcycle I've ever ridden, and I've ridden a bunch of them with really high quality quick shifters. The E-clutch worked better than all of them, and it came on a pretty affordable motorcycle.
Yeah.
In that you could be full throttle, like you're trying to pass a car and you realize you're in the wrong gear, and you're at full throttle, and you just push down on the shift lever to pass the car, and it operates the clutch perfectly.
Beautifully. Yeah.
Beautifully. And you get this perfect, so even like coming out of a corner, you're like, oh, it's uphill, I'm in the wrong gear. You just click down without ever rolling off or blipping or anything, and it did it, and it went. And it was great. But if I wanted to do blip shifting, if I wanted to, it was there for me. My biggest hesitation with DCT is it's stupid, and judge me for it, but would I miss out on the clutch operation if I had DCT? Because I don't have the option to go back to it.
Right.
Where E-clutch kind of gives me a little bit of both.
Okay.
And I like that about it.
I'm just waiting for Honda to release the next CBR with the seamless transmission.
Whoa,
That's all I want. Just give me the
thing is, that is so top secret. Nobody even knows how it works, or
it's one of the funniest technologies in MotoGP, because we've had them for a decade or longer now, longer than that.
And it's a better kept feature than any literally.
Tell you exactly why that's unique.
Right.
Yeah. Again,
it's probably because it's so simple that they were like, really, that's all it is.
I wonder if it's very difficult to maintain. Like, it's shimming, and it's like something about it is like, these really can't be production, because they're just a little bit too finicky, a little too.
Is it like the pneumatic valves? You have to charge an air tank before you go for a ride, and hope you'll run out of air before you run out of.
For your race is over? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Seamless transmission is a fascinating technology that I wish we understood more of.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else today?
No. And we didn't get any feedback last time. Nobody sent us photos that I'm aware of. Or did you?
Comments were great.
You paid attention. I was gone, so you paid attention to our comments. So
comments were great. You guys had tons of great ideas. You corrected us on a bunch of stuff.
Apparently you said Bruno wrong.
You said Bruno. I got corrected. The Yamaha that I mentioned, the R6 the old.
It was an R1.
Well,
I saw that.
Well, I actually like the R6 still, but I was wrong on the year. There's a few other things that we got a little wrong, but I appreciate you guys.
No, I love it. We are not infallible.
We have no scripts. None of them.
No script. Yeah, Darius, you get our photo. What was it? There's that famous joke. If you want to get the right answer, post the wrong answer on the internet, and you'll get the right answer.
That we podcast.
No, and we really appreciate it. We really do.
Fun.
Yeah, we enjoy it. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you next week. We're really enjoying doing this. We'll keep cranking them out.
Yeah.
We didn't even introduce ourselves, so we'll do it at the end. This is Brian. I'm Dave.
This is still Dave.
Yeah. Brian races and is an engineer, and I talk about motorcycles in my garage with a video camera. So there you go. That's our credentials. All right. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.